Good evening, Jai Guru. A warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of Ananda, Kolkata, we are very honored to have all of you. We have Jamalji with us, our Kriyacharya, and who has come to Kolkata for many years now. For those of you who I doubt anyone here is that doesn't know Jamalji, but if there is a new friend here, that Jamalji is the direct disciple of Swami Kriyananda ji, and he's been our teacher for many years and helping us all connect to Master and our line of gurus with his unconditional love and guidance for all of us in Kolkata. So today we'll be meditating with Jamalji at Tulsibo Shrine, the residence of the boyhood friend of Paramhansa Yogananda ji. So I welcome everyone again. I hand this over to Jamalji. Jamalji, it's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Diti, and to all of my friends in Ananda, Kolkata, and all of my friends from all over the world. Welcome. There's people watching from all over. And before we begin, I'm not actually in Kolkata. I would love to be, but things didn't work out that way. But we thought we still could share this special time together in Tulsi Bose's Shrine, even though all of this time is virtual, but still there will be the blessings. This is a very sacred space, and I'm looking forward to sharing and enjoying this precious, this spiritual space with you. Let us first begin with a prayer. So please repeat after me. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, Friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, our beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, and saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Dearest Master, Paramhansa Yogananda ji, help us walk today in your footsteps. Guide us that we may achieve your consciousness. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So for those of you who are familiar with Kolkata, you will recognize the Howrah Bridge behind me. And I thought before we actually enter into Tulsibo Shrine, that we could do what everybody does these days and go to Google Maps. So right now we'll head over to Google Maps and I'll explain where in the world are we, where in Kolkata are we. And this is actually a guide for you that once the pandemic's over, I hope that everyone can come in person to this sacred shrine. So here's the directions on how to get there physically that we in a moment will pull up Google Maps here. And as that happens, I want to explain that Master's house was very near to Tulsibo Shrine. As we zoom in there, you can see that it's a 3-minute walk, Paramhansa Yogananda house to Tulsibo Shrine. And when you do actually come in person, do type in Paramhansa Yogananda's house, and it's much easier to find on Google Maps rather than typing in 4 Garpar Road. That can add to a lot of confusion. But now the important thing here is that Master's house was a very busy place. And so he had difficulty sometimes meditating there, difficulty just having a peaceful life. So he prayed for God to give him a friend nearby where he could go and meditate deeply. And that friend's name was Tulsi Bose. And there we have it. Those are the steps that he would walk in order to go to this house of Tulsi Bose. So now we'll go, once we take those actual steps there in Kolkata, we'll end up at, there's a particular lane that goes into the Tulsi Bose Shrine. And so we'll go now to that lane, and here it is. It's beautifully sunlit. So it's hard to say these days what is left and what is right. But the blue house there, that is the Tulsi Bose Shrine. And you can see that there's a plaque on the wall, and we can zoom in here. We can take a few more steps forward again. and we can read that plaque together. I might have to move my head here a little bit, but this is the Tulsi Bose Shrine. And so he's the boyhood friend of Paramhansa Yogananda. And he lived a long, wonderful life. And you can see there, it's on the right of my screen, there's an arched white entranceway just behind Dr. Radhika's head there. These are friends from the West Delhi Center. Before the pandemic, they came and brought a pilgrimage group to this shrine. And so I just have very, very fond memories of this entryway. I've been to this place so many times. And we lovingly call her Hashima, that she would greet us at the doorway here. She passed away a few years ago, so it's a little hard on me still to remember that she's not here with us in the physical body, but she would always greet us and welcome us and bring us into this sacred home. And so Hashima is the daughter of Tulsi Bose, and I'll explain who everybody is as we go inside and get seated. But why don't we go inside now to what we call the Krishna room. And so this is where Hashi would lovingly bring us into this room, the Krishna room. And she would always make sure we were comfortable and give us snacks, chai, and she would tell us many, many stories. And I'll take this opportunity now to say that there is a video or two of her on YouTube you can find with her and her son Manash, and they will tell all these stories much better than I can, and I highly recommend watching those. I hope in the future also we can bring Manash to do a very similar program like this one day, and he can tell all of the stories that he tells them very beautifully, very wonderfully. I mean, he was born in this house and he lived in this house for many, many years. He lives in Chennai now. He's a great friend. He's a wonderful soul. He has many stories about his time with Ananda Ma, and both his father and mother were just absolutely wonderful people. So this is, wrong hand, that's Hashima right there. And then her husband is right here, Devi Mukherjee. And again, Hashi is the daughter of Tulsi Bose. That's actually Hari Nadian Bose up there. But so Tulsi Bose was Master's boyhood friend. And so Tulsi Bose's father is pictured up here. And he was the principal, you could say, the head of a government art college in Kolkata during those days. And he painted this painting you see of Krishna right directly behind me. He had a vision of Krishna, and he painted this from a vision. So that's Hari Narayan Bose was his name. And this painting, it's very magical. It's been there for over 100 years. And it's just a very sacred central part of this room. So many, many things have happened in this room. I see right there Atmananda Ji. And so Atmananda met Master when he was 11 years old. Master placed him in charge of the monks in Kolkata. Interestingly, Master asked Atmananda Ji to come to America and take over SRF when Master knew that he'd be leaving his body soon. Atmananda Ji declined, but it's still an interesting thing that Master felt that highly of him to ask him to come over and completely take charge of SRF at the whole work at that time. Anyways, Atmananda Ji, he left his body in this room consciously. He went into samadhi and left his body. Anandamoy Ma has visited this room that we are all virtually in right now. Swami Vivekananda came into this room. It's said that Sri Yukteswar was levitating. I forget exactly who he was levitating with, but that he was levitating in this room. And the list goes on and on of all of the great souls who have come into this room and who have been here. We've brought pilgrimages from all over the world time and time again also into this room. And so there's the power of the great saints, as well as there's just the power of all of us Ananda devotees who are meditating together, who have come together in order to find God. A little bit more about Hashima there. She never actually met Master, but she was in her mother's womb, and her mother's name was Martin Ma. She was in her mother's womb when Master came and visited in 1935. And so I believe that Master gave her the name Hashi, even though she hadn't been born yet, and that it's said that Master fed Martin Ma an apple, but he said this is for Hashi there, who was not yet born. And then on a personal level, I just remember often that Swami Kriyananda would make many phone calls, that he would call Hashi on her birthday and wish her well, and that Swami just had a deep relationship with this entire family for all of their lives. In fact, Devi Mukherjee, he really wanted to be a monk, and he spent time with the monks in Dakshineshwar when Swamiji was in YSS, and they became very good friends at that time. Ultimately, it was not his destiny to be a monk, but I had the good fortune of meeting Devi Mukherjee, and he was a very, very high soul. And you could just see that he was part of Master's family. When you looked into his eyes, when you saw the way that he walked, the way that he talked. So it was an honor for me to be able to meet him, and then an honor just to be able to spend so much time with Hashima. When I would come into this room, that there was a certain aura that Hashima, she just had this aura of saintliness, a feeling that would make all of your worries disappear. And it was almost as if, yes, she lived in this home, but that she also lived in a different reality, in a higher reality. And she was always just so welcoming. Um, it's something that there's the group in Kolkata, and I play my part as well to help maintain and just do whatever we can to make this shrine. But we want it to be in the way that Hashi would want it, and that is with her presence, with those welcome arms that absolutely just welcomes everybody and makes everyone feel like she was her child and that she cares so much. And so that vibration, it's still here today in this home. That vibration is here in our hearts, and we miss both of these great souls, but we know that they live on in the masters. One more thing, and then we can go to the next room. But I also feel that this family has played such a critical role in the unity of East and West. That they came and they visited America for a while, and Devarshiji was their host when they were in Seattle. And so many Westerners would come to this house, and she just made everybody feel just so comfortable, so at home. And in watching her work with other people and feeling that, that I realized that our soul family transcends all of these differences that we often feel of I'm born in this country, or I'm born in that country, that I really felt that we are one big soul family. There's one more thing I need to say, and that it pertains to all of us this evening, that there was a time I had moved to India, very new, may have been around 2005, I don't remember, and my good friends Daya and Keshava, they were organizing a pilgrimage to Kolkata. And I asked Swamiji, should I really go on this? That wouldn't it just be better rather than take all this time? I could take those 3 days, just lock myself in my room, meditate a lot, read the books, and just go there. And Swami said, no, go on pilgrimage, that it's important to actually go there. And I felt all of these vibrations that I'm talking about. But then I'd read Autobiography of a Yogi again, it all came alive. That it was, oh, I saw that. And by the way, this neighborhood that we're virtually sitting in right now, when an avatar is born, there's nothing like it. That the saints from everywhere, from the ether say, sign me up. I'm ready to come down and I'll take an incarnation to be in the same neighborhood as Paramhansa Yogananda. So it's just, we didn't show it on Google Maps, but it's a 2-minute walk to the levitating saint's house, another 3-minute walk to J.C. Bose, the great scientist that you can read that chapter in Autobiography of a Yogi. That there's just saints who are all around. I might not get the freedom fighter's name right, so I won't say it. But he also, there's a house there that he was in. Master Mahashaya, who's a very important figure in our lineage, when you read an Autobiography of a Yogi, of him slapping Master on the chest, and suddenly all the sound goes out, and Master's in these blissful states, and he says, it's like I was walking home drunk. People would have accused us of being intoxicated. That Master Mahashaya's house is just a little walk down the road, that in Kolkata we go visit all of these places, and there's a power to all of these places. So coming back to Swamiji, it's important to go on pilgrimage. It's important to meditate in these places, to take on those spiritual vibrations, then to reread the books and visualize that we are there with Master and understand every word that Master wrote in Autobiography of a Yogi was for a reason, and to help us uplift our consciousness through his own experience. So basically, this is a wonderful place. Let's go explore it a little bit more, that there's some wonderful things I'd like to show you. So we can move to a bedroom here. Okay. So this bed that is behind me, Master used to sleep on this bed with Tulsi Bose. And again, Tulsi Bose was the one who Master prayed, please God, give me a spiritual friend that I can get away from my busy house and just go to this home and meditate. So in this bed, Master would spend the night often at this house. By the way, this property is where Master's school in Ranchi, it was born here. That Master asked for just a little piece of land, and that was in the backyard of this house, to start his first school. That's where Master started training young boys. And it's also where his Sanskrit teacher would come, which you read about in Autobiography of a Yogi. So that all happened here. Anyways, this bed is very sacred. When you actually come in person, as soon as this pandemic is over, that you can stay here. You can sleep, maybe not on this bed, I don't know all the rules here, but on one of these beds, you can go there. You can take a nap. How about that? I won't get anybody in trouble. You can take a nap. More than that, we don't want to sleep our way to samadhi. You can meditate on this bed. And what's sitting on that bed? I'm going to go like that. Boop. That's a trident. And that's not just any trident. That trident was given from Babaji to Lahiri Mahashaya. Lahiri Mahashaya gave it to Sri Yukteswar. Sri Yukteswar gave it to Master, and Master, when he was getting on the boat to go to America, he couldn't take every article he had, so he gave this trident to Tulsi Bose. Now, I sometimes am a little skeptical, and you hear all these stories and you're like, did Babaji really touch this thing? So here's the thing, you can come to this shrine. And I sat there, I put that thing right on my spiritual eye, and I sat there and I meditated. I'm not going to go into the details of what I felt, but I 100% believe from my own experience, yes, that is Babaji's trident. Yes, it has his spiritual power in it. Yes, it has his vibrations in it. Yes, all these things that we read about in Autobiography of a Yogi are real. That's enough out of me about the trident. So here's a little funny story. So when Master was in Kolkata, when he revisited India in 1935, he got a little bigger, that he had to eat many meals just as a good, I don't know, guest at all of the homes he was in. So he actually got so big that he didn't fit in this bed anymore with Tulsi Bose. So Sri Yukteswar had another bed sent to this house because Master spent so much of his time here. This really was like a home for him. So we can go now to that screen, and I'll move here to show you. So the bed's just down below there. But I want to point out this picture right here. It's it's something that was so meaningful to Hashi and to Devi Mukherjee. It came from Ananda village in California, and it says there the centennial anniversary of Paramhansa Yogananda. So Swami Kriyananda organized something to commemorate Master's birth 100 years later. So this would have been in 1993, if I got my dates right there, I think so. And so then they came at that time, and that's when Devarshi Ji was being a host for them. But what I really want to urge people to do is go to, it's hard to navigate all of the Ananda videos, there's so many of them, but if you search for a 100-year celebration or centennial celebration, you can see Devi Mukherjee, I think so, speaking. I think he speaks there. And you can just see many different great people who knew Master, because Swami Kriyananda brought together many different people who knew Master, and they all speak, and it's just, there's so much spiritual power in that gathering. So this also is a very sacred room that you can spend time in and meditate and be in this sacred place where Master spent a lot of time. We can now move to another sacred space, which is the puja room. And so this first picture here, it's just one of the altars there in the puja room. I wanted to point out the conch shells, that it is said that Sri Yukteswar would listen to people's kriyas and have them perform kriya in a conch shell. It's not a tradition at Ananda. It's not something necessary, but certainly an interesting story. So I did want to show those conch shells as well. Of course, we know that sometimes when we do puja, that it's just traditionally blown. We can go to the next slide here. So these are the family deities that have been worshipped for many, many years here. And I find this so sweet. That right here is, right there we have it, is a little bed for Krishna. And so in India, often that we can have a murti of Krishna, but it's not just a statue that you put off to the side, that it's something that you give love and care to all of the time. And this is done in this home. It's still done to this day, that there's a priest who comes, who does puja, and who takes care of these murtis. You can also see that there's a murti up there of Lahiri Mahashaya, as well as of Master. There are beads here that different masters, Sri Yukteswar and others, used to count their kriyas in this room. There are Atmananda's sandals, which are here. That there are just many, many different artifacts in this room that the saints have used in their own worship, you could say, in their own different ways. Of course, Master also would meditate in this room. This home is really, it's a sacred journey of different places where you can go and sit in the exact same place where Master would meditate, where he would go into all of these deep, deep states. And Master was an avatar, so he also was helping others go into these deep states, that he would show them how to do it. And that feeling is there also in this home, that it's not just a space where you feel, okay, Master was there, he did it. And so I'm so happy now I can, you know, just feel that somebody else did it, that we can also feel that he helped uplift others, that he's still here with us today, and that he can also uplift our consciousness. All of this talking of Master is making me want to meditate, so we may meditate a little more than I had planned, but it's fine. There's a few more places that we will go first, and so the next one is what is known as a mancha. That this is part of the Tulsi Bose Shrine. And so the mancha is the red structure, which we had built here with the lovely diya radiating light. And above, we planted a Tulsi plant. And very interestingly, when COVID first came, and I mean, absolutely nobody left their house whatsoever, that we weren't able to water that plant. But one of the two Tulsi plants survived without water for 9 months, which is really miraculous in my opinion. And so it's still thriving, and this is just a sacred space outside, but with plants and just, I don't know, I feel a certain thing with communing with nature and plants and things that are alive. All of the brahmacharis came and visited here more or less right before the pandemic. And all the devotees from Kolkata were here, that we did arati, that we played many chants, that we inaugurated this space together. And that's a sacred memory for me, I think for many of us. More than anything, it was just fun. You know, the spiritual path, that it has to be fun, that it's not just all discipline and forcing ourselves to, I don't know, do things that aren't fun, that finding God really, there should be a lot of joy in it. And so I appreciate these times where we can have joyful moments with many other people. So we can actually, I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go meditate here. And so we're going to go back into the Krishna room and we'll meditate there. We've done a little special thing for you, which is we have dimmed the lights. So the Krishna room now has become blue, so we can transition into the Krishna room again. And I'm going to play a chant, which is "My Krishna is blue." And we will paste the words in the chat in case you've never heard this chant. It's a beautiful chant, obviously one of masters. I have time, so I'm going to speak just a little bit about this. There are words in here, "when I die," and sometimes we hear words like that and we think, what does that mean? And what that means is when we no longer have ego, when we surrender and merge ourselves into that blue ocean of Krishna's consciousness. That is really what is meant by death in this song. But when I die, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree. So there is a tree called the Tamil tree, which I've spent time with other good friends in Vrindavan. I'm sure it exists many other places in India. But this is symbolic of, again, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So let's sing this chant together, and then we'll take it into meditation, and we can meditate for about 15 minutes after that. I'll guide us a little bit at that point, but basically, just whatever techniques you know. I think most people watching are probably Kriyabans, but if you're not, just you can watch your breath, just watch your breath, and focus your attention at the spiritual eye and watch your breath there if you're not a Kriyaban or don't know any meditation techniques. So let's play this chant, "My Krishna's blue," and let's get into it. Let's have fun.
There I
Tamil trees bloom, my Krishna is blue. The Tamil trees bloom, so I do love thee, Tamil tree. So I do love thee, my Tamil tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. So I do love thee, Tamil tree. So I do love thee, my Tamil tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. So I do love thee, Tamil tree. So I do love thee, my Tamil tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. So I do love thee, Tamil tree. So I do love thee, my Tamil tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. So I do love thee, Tamil tree. So I do love thee, my Tamil tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, Tamil tree is blue, my Krishna is blue. The Tamil tree is blue, so I do love thee, Tamil tree. So I do love thee, my Tamil tree. And when I die, oh mother, do put me high on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree, where Krishna sat, there I would die. Where Krishna sat, there I would die, on a branch of the Tamil tree, on a branch of the Tamil tree. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. My Krishna is blue, the Tamil tree is blue. Let's meditate. Go ahead and do whatever practices you know. Let's practice those for about 7 minutes, and then I'll come and remind us to sit in the silence for another 7 or 8 minutes. let's now stop practicing the techniques. Simply sit in the silence for another 7 minutes or so. Let's close this meditation by visualizing anyone we know who's in need of healing. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in these Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their bodies, in their minds, and in their souls. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, for all of you who, okay, Ashok, I see you're in the chat there. Basically, just type Tulsi Bose Shrine into Google Maps, Tulsi Bose Shrine, Kolkata, and you can find it. But we're not taking visitors right now, that we really want everyone to stay safe. But when the time is right, that it will be open, and we will do that. So we have a gift for everyone who stayed until the end. And obviously, it's not a physical gift. It's a virtual gift. But before I get to that, it's a good gift, though. Before I get to that, I just want to thank everyone that, especially all those in Kolkata. I mean, there's so many people behind the scenes that have made this happen, that have put so much energy into keeping this space very beautiful and maintaining it and making it nicer. And there's just so many people behind the scenes today making this program happen in so many ways. So I just want to offer gratitude, and it's not my personal gratitude. I feel like I'm thanking God in you for all that you are doing, and that He's thanking you also. So basically, Ananda Kolkata, which has organized this, is doing many classes. If you have friends, if you know people in Kolkata that want to learn the teachings, we're now offering these in Bengali. And so tell the world that they can learn Kriya Yoga in Bengali and all the rest of Master's teachings. And you can see more about us on, we have 2 Facebook pages, the Tulsi Bose Facebook page, the Tulsi Bose Shrine Facebook page, as well as the Ananda Kolkata Facebook page. There's the Ananda Kolkata website, so come say hi. And so now to the gift. So if we can share that screen, this is an age where there's so much information, it's hard to know, where do I go, what do I do next? So, oh, I have 2 minutes, but I think I can fit this story in. So there's a book, it's called Shaped by Saints. It's written by Devi Mukherjee, who lived in this house with his wife Hashi Mukherjee, who was the daughter of Tulsi Bose. So many hands made a miracle to write this book. Devi wrote it. Vidura and Durga in America and California edited it. Swamiji also put his aura around this book. But in this book, no, I need to tell this story. Hashi, once her husband passed away, she would ask me, Jemal, I need more of these books. And I would be at the Delhi Center, do you have any Shaped by Saints? And I would take 7 of them and give them to Hashima. And then she'd call a month later, I need more Shaped by Saints. And I don't think she was doing a good job selling them. I think she was just giving them away to people who would come, which is fine. But she had so much love for her husband, and she was so proud of him that he wrote this beautiful book about all of these different saints. And she just wanted the whole world to know what a wonderful book her husband had written. And it is a wonderful book. So now I don't have to hand these things out physically anymore and go city to city, that you can read this book for free online. We'll paste this link in the chat. But what I want to show you, we can scroll down, is here's the gift, the gyan, go to chapter 5. And in chapter 5, here's the chapter. It explains how Master met Tulsi. There it says Tulsi Da. Da just simply means older brother in Bengali. But in this chapter right here is so worth reading because you will get to see another side of Master that you've never seen. You will get to see in this chapter how Master put Tulsi Bose into Samadhi and feel what it was like for Tulsi Bose to go into Samadhi when Master gave it to him. So I highly recommend reading the entire book, but if not, that you can find this link and that you can read chapter 5 here, where Master met Tulsi and why they were in each other's lives and what their relationship was like. So this has been an absolutely beautiful, lovely evening for me. And Diti, is there anything you'd like to add to help close? Anything?
Thank you, Jamalji, for bringing everyone to Kolkata and taking us to this beautiful space. And we will send an email to everyone with the details of all that we do here, so that if anybody wants to learn Master's teachings in Kolkata, they can connect with us.
Thank you all. So have a wonderful evening or day or wherever you are, and we'll see everybody soon.